Okay, so New York City, right, turns 400 years old.
Wow.
Big anniversary. We had to do a deep dive on this. We found this website, Happy 400th Birthday NYC 2024.
Yeah, I looked at the site. It's really well put together.
It is. It's like a love letter to New York, but like a really honest one.
Hmm.
Like it celebrates all the good stuff,
Definitely.
but it doesn't shy away from like the more complicated parts of its history.
Yeah, they're not sugarcoating anything, which I appreciate.
Right. Okay, so for people who maybe need a little refresher, let's rewind back to the beginning. 1624.
Okay.
We've got the Dutch West India Company. These guys were like the corporate giants of their time.
Huge players in global trade.
Exactly. And they're the ones who established New Amsterdam.
Which, for anyone who maybe doesn't know, that's what New York City was originally called, New Amsterdam.
Right. Before it was the Big Apple. It was New Amsterdam.
Exactly.
So the Dutch West India Company, they weren't exactly known for their, let's say, ethical practices.
Well, let's be honest, their main goal was profit, right? They weren't exactly setting up a utopia.
Yeah, fair point. But what's interesting here, the website highlights this, is that they envisioned New Amsterdam as this, like, multinational community from day one.
Which is fascinating when you think about the context, right? Most colonial ventures at that time were much more about, imposing one culture, one way of life.
It's true. So in a way, New York's destiny as like this global melting pot.
It's like it was baked into the city's DNA from the very beginning.
Exactly. And the website, it does this really cool thing where it uses language as a lens to explore this idea.
Oh, you mean that pigeon trade language they talk about?
Yeah. That totally blew my mind when I read that. Like, imagine this blend of Dutch, Algonquin, Lenape.
It's mind-boggling to think about all those languages colliding and transforming in real time.
Right. Creating this entirely new way of communicating just out of necessity.
It speaks volumes about the ingenuity and adaptability of those early New Yorkers, They had to find a way to understand each other, to survive, to trade, to build something new.
And isn't it amazing how that kind of linguistic fusion, how it foreshadows what New York City becomes? Like this incredible tapestry of languages and cultures.
It's a direct line from those early interactions on the docks of New Amsterdam to the city we know today.
Totally. Okay, we have to unpack this whole pigeon language thing a bit more because the website keeps coming back to it. And I think it's really important.
Well, absolutely. It's central to their whole narrative.
Right. So it's not just a fun fact about how people spoke back then. It's like they're using it as this metaphor for how New York has always found ways to bridge cultural divide.
Exactly. And how communication, even if it's messy, even if it's constantly evolving, is key to building understanding.
I never thought about it like that, but it makes so much sense.
Right. It's like even back then with this hodgepodge language, they were finding common ground, figuring out how to build something together despite their differences.
And that's such a powerful message, especially today, right? Like in a world that often feels so divided, it's a good reminder that communication, finding ways to understand each other, it's essential.
Absolutely. And the website does a brilliant job of connecting that historical context to the present day and even looking ahead to the future.
Okay, so they're not just giving us a history lesson here. They're making us think about the role of communication in shaping a city, in shaping a society even today. And
how that idea, that ability to find common ground despite differences, is something that New York City embodies perhaps more than any other place on Earth.
And that's something worth celebrating, don't you think?
Absolutely, 100%.
And speaking of celebrating, we have to talk about how New York marked its 400th birthday. Because let me tell you, this website is basically a giant online party invitation. They really went all out for this one.
Can't be like 400 years. That's huge.
And the website, it's like this amazing time capsule of everything that happened.
It really captures the energy of it all.
Right. Like you can almost hear the music and the cheering just reading about it.
Exactly. And there's something for everyone, Like it's not just historical exhibits and stuff.
Oh, no, they went all out.
They had concerts, festivals, art installations all over the city.
Okay, wait, hold on. Did you see they had a Yankees game as part of the celebration?
I did. Classic New York, right?
It's perfect. What could be more New York than a Yankees game?
And it wasn't just any game. It was a nail-biter against Tampa Bay. Went into extra innings.
Oh, man, I bet the energy was through the roof.
The website says it was electric. Even the players were caught up in the excitement.
That's awesome. See, this is what I love about this website. It's like, yeah, we're celebrating history, but it's also about the here and now,
Absolutely. It's about how the past and present are intertwined in a city like New York.
Exactly. It's not just about looking back. It's about understanding how those 400 years led to this moment, to this city, to us.
It's a celebration of everything that makes New York, New York. The good, the bad, and everything in between.
Speaking of which, they don't shy away from the more challenging parts of the city's history either.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, right? You can't tell the full story without acknowledging the complexities.
Exactly. Like they talk about the Dutch West India Company and their role in the slave trade.
It's a dark chapter, but it's part of the story. And I think it's commendable that they're not shying away from it.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, we're not perfect, but we're learning from our past and trying to do better.
Exactly. And that's a message that resonates today more than ever.
It really does. But you know what else struck me about the website? It's not just about the city itself. It's about the people.
Oh, absolutely. They really emphasize that idea of New Yorkers being part of this larger story.
Right, like they have this whole section on researching your family history and seeing how it connects to the city's past.
I love that. It's like they're inviting everyone to find their own personal link to New York's 400-year journey.
It's such a cool concept. And they provide all these resources like links to archives and genealogical websites.
They really want people to dig in and discover their own New York stories.
I know, right? It's like maybe your great-great-grandparents were there when the Dutch first arrived, or maybe they came over during the wave of immigration in the early 1900s.
It's fascinating to think about all those individual stories, all those journeys that have converged to create this incredible city.
It's almost overwhelming when you think about it, like millions and millions of stories all woven together.
And those stories are still being written today. Every day, new people arrive in New York, bringing their own cultures, their own dreams, their own chapters to add to the city's ever-evolving narrative.
And that's what makes New York so unique, isn't it? This constant state of flux, of reinvention, of becoming.
Exactly. It's a city that never stands still, a city that's always pushing boundaries and challenging conventions.
It's a city that embodies the spirit of possibility, don't you think?
Absolutely. And that's something worth celebrating, not just for its 400th birthday, but every single day.
It really is, and I think that's what makes this website so special.
It's more than just a digital archive, isn't it?
Way more. It's like they bottled that energy, that feeling of being in New York.
That's a great way to put it. Like, even if you've never even been to New York, you can still get a sense of what it's all about.
Totally. And it makes you realize, like, New York's influence.
It's global, right?
It's everywhere. The website, I mean, they even have a whole section about it.
How New York has shaped, well, everything. I mean, fashion, music.
But art, food, finance, you name it.
Exactly. And I think that speaks to the city's ability to
stay relevant?
More than that, I think it's about evolution. Like, New York is constantly reinventing itself, pushing boundaries, setting trends.
Which makes you wonder, right, what's next? Like, after 400 years, what does New York look like for the next 400?
Right. What's the next chapter?
It's exciting to think about.
It is. Because with a city like New York, anything feels possible.
Okay, so to wrap up, our deep dive into Happy 400th Birthday NYC 2024.
Great website.
That's amazing. It really gives you this incredible look at New York City. Its history, its people, its heart, really.
And its future, don't forget that.
Right. It leaves you feeling hopeful, I think.
Definitely. Hopeful and inspired.
Exactly. So if you haven't already, check it out. You won't regret it. And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And keep diving deep.